What's going on, everybody? Jake Foley here. For those that don't know, I am an MMA writer and journalist for several websites, including Sportskeeda, Combat Press, Middle Easy, and a little bit of Fansided.
What's going on, guys? My name is Thomas Foley, and just a little bit of background for you. I'm a fan of UFC, as a lot of us are, but I wouldn't say I know sort of the ins and outs. I do watch as much as I possibly can. I even train in jiu-jitsu. I've been doing that for about 3 years.
We are here to break down UFC Singapore. We're just going to do the main card. I'll give you my brief breakdown of it and my picks. Starting off, I have it here because I didn't memorize it. We have a heavyweight bout between Junior Tafa and Parker Porter.
It's time!
Now, when it comes to Junior Tafa, on paper, and I mean, you see it in the cage too, he is an experienced, only had about 4 or 5 fights. I was so excited for him to join the UFC, especially after his last win before his Octagon debut in Risen. I just think he looked phenomenal, very exciting, explosive. But that first fight against Muhammad Usman was a letdown. Now, I'm not one of these people that really disrespects Muhammad Usman, but I just don't see him right now as a top contender. So I did wish to see more from Tafa out of that fight, and which just left me with a bad taste in my mouth. He obviously still has that knockout power. He still has that explosiveness. He's always going to be dangerous, especially in the first round. But when it comes to Parker Porter, at times he's been a little chinny, but he's one of those guys who is going to be a mainstay, has been a mainstay in the UFC heavyweight division because he can mostly eat a punch, other than sometimes, like I said, he looks a little chinny, but his cardio is so good. You know, he could put together some good combinations, and I think that's going to be the difference maker in this one. I think Parker Porter's going to switch it up, a little bit of grappling, a little bit of striking. He's going to wear on Junior Tafa, and he's going to once again expose him, kind of like we saw in the Usman fight. So I'm taking Parker Porter.
All right. First fight on the main card is a heavyweight bout between, and I'm sorry if I butcher anyone's names here, but this is a white boy from Florida, trying to pronounce this stuff. We have Junior Tafa versus Parker Porter. And I try not to do too much research on stuff like this because I do want this to kind of come from more of just a casual fan kind of perspective, but I couldn't really find too much on Junior Tafa, but on Parker Porter, from what I understand, he's coming off a couple losses and stuff like that. And his last win was apparently kind of under some controversy because he apparently tested for testosterone. So I kind of count that as 3 losses in a row, and the only reason he won the one was because he had that help with it. So I'm going to say that this one's going to go to the underdog here, obviously, and I'm going to say that it's going to be Junior Tafa that walks away with the win here. It's time!
Now we go over to the women's flyweight division where we have Erin Blanchfield versus Talia Santos. Last time we saw Talia Santos, most people believe, including me, that she beat Valentina Shevchenko. On the other side of the octagon, we're going to have Erin Blanchfield, who is one of the I don't know if I want to say fastest, actually, but she's a rising superstar. And I do think she will be a champion one day, but I think she has some hurdles to still overcome, some improvements to be made. So for that, I think Talia Santos is going to get the win here. Just way more experience. That power is still deadly. She's well-rounded, and she's going to have a chip on her shoulder not getting an immediate rematch, which I'm not saying she deserved because she was the title challenger, but like I said, a lot of people, including me, thought she did win that fight. So I think Talia Santos is going to get the win and should earn a title shot.
So, again, I don't know too much about these two, but if I had to take a pick, I would say I'm probably going to go with Erin Blanchfield. I think from what I've seen, I like the way she fights a bit more. I think she's doing a bit better, but I do know Talia Santos just came off of, I believe it was, a split decision win or something like that I'm not sure if it was a belt. Was it for a belt?
Yeah, she lost though.
Yeah, she lost. She lost a split decision for a belt, so she is kind of coming off that, so this may be kind of like a rebound match for her, but I think Blanchfield's going to see that this was just a previous contender, and she's going to kind of come, guns blazing, ready to fight. So I'm going to give it to Erin Blanchfield. It's time!
Now we got Rinya Nakamura versus Fernie Garcia. Fernie Garcia, he's scrappy, he's tough, he always shows up to fight. But this one's going to be pretty simple to me. Nakamura looked phenomenal throughout the road to the UFC. He has a wrestling background. He's shown improvements in his striking. This guy is really dangerous, and he is definitely a force to be reckoned with in the bantamweight division. So I think this is going to be a showcase fight for Nakamura, getting it done early in the first round.
I think this is an easy pick. Rinya Nakamura is undefeated, and he's been on a tear lately. I think this is kind of just like a layup match, but with the way layup matches have been going in UFC lately, it's not always a guarantee, but I think this is a layup for Rinya Garcia. My God, I keep saying that. Rinya Nakamura. I think it's a layup for Rinya Nakamura, and he's going to take this and make it look easy.
It's time!
Giga Chikadze versus Alex Caceres. Now this one's interesting because everybody's been waiting for Giga Chikadze to come back, right? Where's Giga? When's he coming back? Now that he's coming back, nobody's talking about it. It's going under the radar, and this is the perfect matchup for him. Shout out to the UFC matchmakers, because you're not giving him something too low where it's like, all right, we know he's going to get an easy finish. But at the same time, a guy like Alex Caceres, he's been around the block. He's done it twice. Now he's suddenly putting everything all together. He's looking good. He's unorthodox. Like I said, very experienced, scrappy. And it's going to be a good test to really see where Giga Chikadze was, because I feel like everybody just forgot after that Calvin Kattar fight that he was supposed to take over this division, and he was unbeatable. So I think Chikadze is going to silence those doubters, really show, those Giga kicks are going to come in handy. He's going to look phenomenal, and I think he's going to get Caceres out of there inside the distance.
This is kind of an interesting one, because I feel like this can go one of two ways. I feel like if it stays on the feet, then I would give it to Giga. But if it goes to the mat, I would say Alex is going to probably walk away with this. So it really depends on the kind of fight that they have. I mean, if they just push each other against the cage and stay there for whatever, then I'll go ahead and say Giga. But to give a concrete answer, I'm going to go ahead and say Alex Caceres is going to be the one that walks away with this one.
It's time!
Co-main event, Anthony Smith versus Ryan Spann. This is another tough one because on one side you have Ryan Spann, who during that 2 or 3 fight stretch looked like he could be a legitimate contender in the light heavyweight division. Last fight didn't look so good. But on the other side, you have Anthony Smith, who, quite frankly, I hate to say stuff like this because I have so much respect for Anthony Smith as a commentator, as an analyst, as a fighter, just all around as a mixed martial artist, but he's not looked the same recently. And I think that's going to continue here. I think Ryan Spann is going to come out firing. Ryan Spann, I think it was only his last fight that he's been training full time, he said, which is just absolutely insane. I think the Fortis MMA team is going to have him ready to go. I think Anthony Smith is going to possibly, maybe even retire. I know, you're not supposed to say stuff like that because, it's his decision to make, not mine. I think Ryan Spann's going to get him out of there inside the distance, and that'll be it for Anthony Smith.
I feel like I recognize these names.
Okay, so originally I recorded my own predictions where I kind of said I didn't really know who Anthony Smith was, and then I started editing this video, and well...
Oh, he's pulling on the pressure on! Showman's on the pressure! How is he still standing? Massive right hand! That is it! Anthony Lion Smith takes out another legend!
So, yeah, I thought I recognized that name for a reason, and that's why I'm going to double down on my pick and say that Anthony Smith is going to beat the living piss out of Ryan Spann. Again.
It's time!
Last one, main event. Max Holloway versus Chen Sung-jung. The Korean Zombie. So, everybody seems a little nervous for the Korean Zombie for several reasons. The Alexander Volkanovski loss, the damage suffered in that fight was pretty horrifying, to be honest with you. And on top of that, he just hasn't really looked the same. And now he's coming into a matchup where he's like a plus 600 betting underdog. And he's going to have a lot of support from the fans, but I don't think this one's going to go too well. Don't get me wrong. I do think that he'll have some success early on just because he still is the Korean Zombie, still a world-class fighter, and he does have his own training gym, his own team, so he's going to have a good game plan to try to execute, but Max Holloway just on top of the world right now, and I think Max Holloway is not going to stop until he gets another title shot. On top of that, you add in the situation in Maui going on, giving him a little bit more of a reason to go out there and put on a show for his people that'll be watching. I think Max Holloway gets it done, and hopefully, and I don't say this with disrespectfully, hopefully it's inside the distance, because the way that this should play out, if it goes the distance, it'll be a lot more damage for the Korean Zombie to suffer.
So Jun Ching Sun just lost, I believe it was, his last fight was a featherweight title fight, and he lost by, I think it was a unanimous decision, correct? Yeah, so he lost by unanimous decision, but in most of his fights that I've seen him in, because I remember when I first watched him fight, they kind of really try to build him up, make him like this big guy, and I don't feel like I've ever really seen him deliver on that hype. But then you got a guy like Max Holloway, who the only fights he's dropped as of late, from what I can remember, are guys like Volkanovski and Dustin Poirier. And again, when you say names like that, there's no two names that you can really say that are bigger than those in the terms of MMA. So because those are the only guys Max Holloway's really been dropping fights against, and again, because he's Max fucking Holloway, and I don't see Jun Ching Sung, the Korean Zombie, being on the same level as guys like Volkanovski or Poirier. I think this is a win in the books for Max Holloway.